Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the Metal Voice, heavy metal, Hall of Heavy Metal, with the one, the only CEO and the guy running the whole show, Pat Gesualdo. What's going on, Pat?
Oh, not too much. How are you, my friend?
Actually, let's begin with this. What is the Hall of Heavy Metal history?
Well, the Hall of Heavy Metal history is the one place where those legendary and iconic musicians that have been carrying the flag for so long for heavy metal can be inducted. You know, we are the home of the Hall of Heavy Metal history, right? So we're the home for those musicians. Those guys who have been working so hard for literally decades, right? So, you know, we honor them in an induction ceremony every year in a big event. And last year was phenomenal. Last year we had Ronnie James Dio was inducted, and we had Wendy Dio accepting on behalf of Ronnie, which was a great honor to have everybody, really. Metal Blade Records for the 35th anniversary. So we had Brian Slagel there, who is the founder of Metal Blade Records, and we did a surprise induction with Kerry King from Slayer, which was phenomenal. That was great. We had the Scorpions there. Mickey D accepted for the Scorpions, which was great. We inducted the Rainbow Bar and Grill. We inducted Rudy Sarzo, of course. Lemmy and Lemmy's manager, Todd Singerman, accepted on his behalf. We had one of my just favorite musicians of all time and the most recorded musician ever with Don Airey. So we had Don, was such a great honor as well. We had Frankie Banali, which was great. We had Ross the Boss Friedman, which was great. We had Vinny Appice. We had Andy Zildjian, who is the CEO, president, and actually founder of Sabian Cymbals. And we had Randy Rhoads, and Randy's brother and sister graciously accepted, you know, our invitation, and that was just phenomenal to see Kathy and Kelly Rhoads there as well, accepting on Randy's behalf. So it was just unbelievable.
The Hall of Heavy Metal history. What's the difference between this and the other heavy metal awards or hard rock awards that we, you know, that people have in London and California, all around the world?
Yeah, I get asked that question all the time, actually. Well, the difference is, you know, we really want to honor those guys who have been doing this for years and years and years. A lot of people only want maybe relevant bands now and maybe one or two guys that are actually literally responsible for starting the genre, right? So what we do is, you know, we honor all of those musicians. Those guys, like I said, that have been carrying the flag for heavy metal, that have been touring for years and years and years and years and working so hard, literally day after day for decades. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't remember their roots. You know, this is about, yes, it's about some of the newer musicians as well, but also the originators, the founders of metal. And unfortunately, even mainstream, now we do as a community, we love those guys, right? We love the guys that started it. But unfortunately, they get left by the wayside for whatever reason, and it's not fair. So I said, you know what? We're going to do something about it. We're going to start our own award show, and I'm going to call it the Hall of Heavy Metal History, and the rest is history. Right from that, like, 2-minute conversation, that's how the whole thing started. And, you know, several months later, we did our first induction ceremony in Anaheim, California.
All right, and the Metal Voice was there, filming live. We'll be there this year, hopefully, if everything goes well, to cover the event. Also, I'd like to ask, so what's different? I mean, what were the good and the bad of last year, and what are you going to do this year, sort of like to make it better? How's that?
Well, not to badmouth anybody, because I don't believe in doing that. There were some, let's just say, organizations in California that really tried to shut us down right from the beginning. And it made it extremely difficult to find a place because they would not allow us to book any venues that we wanted to. So I finally found a venue that, you know, we did the show at. I found it like last minute, literally within like 3 weeks. And I mean, it was a great venue, but it just didn't fit what we need. So this year we're going to be at the Wyndham Hotel, which is going to be phenomenal. We're using the ballroom there. There's going to be a brand new ballroom that's being redecorated. Actually, it's being redecorated right now. So we're going to have a brand new ballroom, and that's where we're going to do the event from.
All right. So we saw in the press that Ross the Boss, who was inducted last year, is inducted again this year. What's going on? Is he being inducted every year? What's the difference between this year's induction and last year's induction?
Well, one of the things I thought of in order to really bring the Hall of Heavy Metal history to different fans around the world, I mean, it's been phenomenal. We've had phenomenal outpouring from fans all over the world, and I am just so grateful for that. And by the way, just so everybody knows, and I say this all the time, this is a nonprofit organization. So the whole part of the Hall of Heavy Metal history is part of the DAD program that I started, Drums and Disability, with my pioneering drum therapy techniques, which helps children and wounded veterans with various disabilities to develop physical and cognitive functioning. So we work very closely with the Ronnie James Dio Stand Up and Shout Cancer Fund, and we're working together to reach out to help children who have cancer. With the DAD program, I was never really involved in that area, unfortunately. It's just something I didn't have a stronghold in. I mean, I have the DAD program in 15 countries, and we go work with schools and hospitals, mental health facilities, community centers, with all types of children and adults with various disabilities, but never with that. So I'm just so honored to be working with Wendy and the entire team over at Stand Up and Shout with Wendy Dio to help do an outreach for those children with cancer. And so all the funds that we get from the Hall of Heavy Metal History induction ceremony goes to Ronnie James Dio Stand Up and Shout Cancer Fund. So I just wanted to make that known because I'm so proud of the work that Wendy's doing, and it's such a great honor. And I'm so proud of the work that we're doing and working together in helping even more people, which is the whole idea of the Hall of Heavy Metal History. So to get back to your original question, yes, last year Ross the Boss was inducted. So I wanted to find a way to bring the Hall of Heavy Metal history to fans around the world because we've had such a huge outpouring from fans all over the world. And so how can I bring this back to you to have you involved directly wherever you are in the world? So I thought, I know the Wacken Festival in Germany would be a great way to reach out to some of the fans over in Germany, for example, and many people from all over the world go there as well. By the way, we had fans last year come from all over the world to our event as well, which I'm extremely grateful for too. So I thought, I know, why don't we reach out to Wacken and start a new kind of a category. So every year, we're going to be inducting someone as Global Metal Ambassador at Wacken, and possibly some other festivals as well now have asked me to get involved and do that. So it's kind of bringing the Hall of Heavy Metal history, at least with one person, with it, and with a very special induction. So last year, everyone, including Ross, was inducted into the Hall of Heavy Metal history. But this year, we're starting with Ross as Global Metal Ambassador. And that's the award that he is going to get, and we're going to be on stage at Wacken in front of 75,000 people doing the induction, which is just going to be phenomenal. I am just so grateful to Wacken as well for allowing us to do that, to bring this to our fans as well all over the world.
What's the exact date? January
24th at the Wyndham Anaheim in California.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the voting system, all right? Now everybody wants to know about, well, who's picking who and who gets a chance to induct whom, right? So I know there's a committee like last year, a committee of people, like the Oscars in a way, right? Of people in the industry, and they induct or they choose and they vote. But this year there's something different. And you talked about this last year, that you want to get the world involved through the internet. So can you tell us a little about the new voting system for the Hall of Heavy Metal History?
Yes, and the voting system, of course, is not just me. There is an entire induction committee, which is great, and they are legendary executives, and some are even artists. And I've already been getting inundated from people around the world. Can we induct this person? Can we induct that person? So we want to make this as clear as possible, as using the induction ceremony process. So in order to open up the whole process to the fans throughout the world, we're going to be including it in the website, where, for example, we're going to be posting names in our categories. Now, again, our categories are rock, hard rock, and metal, because if you think of the evolution of metal, right, it all started from rock and built up to heavy metal. So that includes bands like, let's say, Foreigner, for example, and dare I say, in a way, even Pat Benatar, right? So you have the rock that started it, and of course you had Sabbath and Purple. And so the induction ceremony will include a list of rock, hard rock, and metal musicians and bands for over the decades, over the years, that are responsible for bringing heavy metal where it is today. And within those categories, we're going to have bands and as well as artists, musicians, drummer, keyboardist, vocalist, bass guitar, guitarists. And then the world will get a chance to choose who they want. So some may say, well, I want person A or I want person B. And so the fans get a way to be involved in this process. Again, this is all about those musicians. Really, let me back up for a second. The Hall of Heavy Metal History really has three functions, I want to say. Really working with all the fans and giving a tribute back to the fans, honoring those artists, and of course helping all those children and adults with disabilities, right? That's our main focus in those three areas. So we open it up to the world because I want them to be part of it. You know, there are so many awards, and I'm not going to name them, but everybody knows what they are anyway, where the general public really never gets a chance to vote. I am a member of the Grammy Awards, right? So the voting committee. So I get a chance to vote who I feel I want into the Grammys. Now that's me and many other executives, but really many of these awards shows the general public just has no chance of doing it. So that's how we're kind of different, because this is all about the fans as well as those artists. And so, we need to make that very clear and open and accessible to the fans.
Pat, how many categories will the world be able to vote on?
Well, again, we have rock, hard rock, and metal bands, and there will be a list of bands that they get to choose from. Now, also, by the way, it just doesn't have to be what we list. I mean, I'm already, like I said, we've been getting inundated with suggestions from people all over the world. Can we induct this band? Can we induct that artist? Can we induct this singer? Can we induct that keyboard player? So by all means, the fans always have access to us and can always send in somebody that may not be on the list who we're even thinking of. And we welcome that too. And then it goes to the committee, and the most votes for each person will then be inducted into the Hall of Heavy Metal History.
And when will the electronic voting take place? Like a date and time?
Yeah, we're going to be starting that. We're probably going to be opening that soon, and that will go into September, October. We already have a list now of some of the inductees, but we're going to, make that accessible again to the fans everywhere via our website at hallofheavymetalhistory.org. And then some of our partner sponsors, who are really our media sponsors, who really help us do an outreach, will be involved. Probably Modern Drummer, going on the record with that now. I think that's going to work, and I think, for example, they're going to post it on their Facebook. So we're going to have different access points that will all filter back in to our corporate office and to the nominating committee.
What about Best Heavy Metal Podcast? Metal Voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that a great idea? And we could induct the Metal Voice. How's that? just throwing it out. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. Let the world decide. All right, let's wrap it up, okay?
you know, if I can interject too, the one thing that I also wanted to mention, and I'm glad you brought that up actually, it's not just about the musicians, right, as we said, it's also the executives, those people who are prominent at making heavy metal successful for so many years. So we're talking about photographers, we're talking about journalists,
websites,
we're talking about record company executives, and that's why you had, for example, like last year I mentioned Brian Slagel, who is, you know, one of the cornerstones, obviously, of the metal world, and such a huge, important part of that. So it's really about the metal industry in general.
Yeah, well, I like to push it even a step further. I would say there's infrastructure, and those are the people you mentioned, but there's also infrastructure within the online magazines, right? That push out the metal news, the podcasts, like the Metal Voice. You know, there's radio shows. All these, that's the metal infrastructure, right? And that's the only way we sort of cater to our own community, and that's sort of out there. And I guess that deserves some sort of recognition as well.
Oh, you know what? That's 100% accurate and 100% true, and I'm glad you included that, because, you know, I'm really an old school guy. So as far as me, I mean, you know, even try to get onto Skype to speak with you, I'm not going to say it's difficult, but I really don't enjoy it. And really, my whole thought process isn't even there. But you're right. The entire online podcast and even terrestrial radio and satellite radio is also a part of that induction process as well.
All right. So there you have it. Let's wrap it up. When, where, how, which? Just tell us. Just wrap it all up for us. And where can people get more information?
Okay, more information is at thehallofheavymetalhistory.org. Also our Facebook page. And please like us there and share all our posts. So hallofheavymetalhistory.org, our Facebook page. It's going to be January 24th, 2018 at the Wyndham, Anaheim, California. And tickets are probably going to go on sale also with our inductee list, which is just going to be phenomenal this year. It's going to be so exciting. It's just huge. And that will probably do, just so everybody knows, probably in September sometime we'll make the announcement. Jimmy will come back with you, and we'll make the announcement there as well. And they can go online and purchase the tickets right there. And again, it's all for a great cause. We're a nonprofit organization, and you know, donating to Ronnie James Dio Stand Up and Shout Cancer Fund.
Sounds amazing. All right, man. Pat, best of luck to you. We'll have you on again to get some more information, and then we'll see you in January at the Hall of Heavy Metal History.